Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
It's live.
Are you ready?
Live.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
All right, greetings and welcome to Live Talk. I am your host, Arthur Jeremiah, alongside my two co-hosts, Minister Samuel.
And welcome back to Live Talk.
All right, you can't see you.
Peace. Good afternoon to everybody.
All right, before we go to anything, let's go to our general statement and disclaimer.
General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkorl.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando.
All right, welcome back. We have to get that out of the way. How are my brothers doing, Minister?
I'm doing wonderful this Sunday morning. Great and blessed day. I mean, personally, we're during the feast of Passover and unleavened bread, so that's a completely joyous thing that's going on. So really jovial, but want to try to keep it focused at the same time.
Yes, sir, indeed. You can't seek it, the spiritual ambassador. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing marvelous. It's been a golden afternoon thus far, and it's been a beautiful week.
I see you're Superman. You got Superman on your chest.
No, that stands for sharp.
Sharp. Okay. Hey, but you can be Superman now. Hey, we're the original. Listen, we're the original Superman.
Original. There we go.
Yes, sir.
Well, blessed be. We are definitely in the season of Passover. I'm excited about that. It's always a blessing when we can be blessed keeping the law. So that's a wonderful thing. But I'm also going through, closing out this year, tax season. So, hey, I'm on it for the next 2 weeks. And once that's over with, I can be like the bear. I'm going to hibernate a little bit. Once the season over with. But I hope our family out there that's listening, viewing in, I hope you're doing just as well. We're just going to give you a rundown of the show today. First, we'll have the minister word of today. Right after that, we'll go to a commercial break, and then we'll come back with our main topic. Our main topic today is Own Something, supporting and building Black business in 2026. And we'll be joined by a dear sister that's very experienced in this area, Sister Tamaya Israel. And then right after that, we'll go to another commercial break, and then we'll go to we may continue this topic. We'll just see where we are in the mix of this topic, but we normally would touch on, see what's on our brother Ezekiel's mind at that time. And we'll get ready to close out with a motivational quote and reading by the host. So, Minister, with no further ado, is the word of today.
Well, today, our word of the day is actually going to be ownership. It's a part of that topic. And ownership is defined as the state, relation, or fact being an owner. Ownership is a group or organization of owners. It is the quality, state, or the state of being accountable, having responsibility. Ownership is taking responsibility for an idea or a problem. Ownership is the legal right of possession and proprietorship. Some synonyms of ownership are control, power, possession, holding, and partnership. And it was a very interesting quote I found from an author named Brene Brown. And she wrote that if we own the story, then we can write the ending.
That's powerful. And we're going to be talking a lot about that. So I thank you for that word of today, Minister. We're going to go to a commercial break and we'll be right back.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zodi toothpaste. Zodi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zodi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zodi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
We're going to war, y'all! I was screwed last tax season, but not this time. I got a pro to be my co-pilot. Scott & Associates Accounting ain't just there when the IRS comes knocking on your door. They do all the preparation work and the planning. That way my plane is fully fueled up and stocked with bullets.
Scott's firm is completely family owned, so yeah, they treat your money like Christmas dinner. Seriously, dude, you never pay more than you have to.
Now let's say, God forbid, you do make a mistake during the year. These guys will help you get back on track faster than you can say back-to-back World War champs. Whether you're a small business or want your personal taxes done, they knows the tax code like the back of their hand.
You'll never have to worry about getting lost in the IRS trenches when you have the allies on your side.
They do more than balance books. They empower entrepreneurs to make smart, confident financial decisions all year long.
All right, so we do got a little time left in tax season. So if you're still needing your taxes done, I don't know if we can get them done for you right now, but we can file an extension for you because I got to.
No, reach out. There's always a legal way.
Right. Got a desk full of files. But just getting into this season, in our last show, we talked about money in our last episode, but today we're taking it a step further. We're going to talk about making money, but we're going to talk about the ownership behind that. In 2026, and this is going to be our question for today. I want you to put this question up there for our listening audience, viewing audience. The question is, are we just consumers or are we building something that lasts? So that's our audience question for today. Are we just consumers? Are we building something that lasts? All right, brothers. Before we bring on our guests, I want to engage us a little bit. When it comes to, when you think about ownership, and Minister, I'm glad you came up that word of today, ownership. When we think about ownership, whether it's business, property, or something small, what's your experience with that?
I mean, I'll lead off with that one. And I'm going to talk about property when it comes to ownership. Because property, specifically the most basic one, like home ownership, for most people is one of the opportunities to acquire a large amount of wealth. And unfortunately, in our community, we have a tendency of lagging as a whole. At least we lag behind. And in the society that we live now, in this, prices of, everybody say, man, it's skyrocketing. It's too expensive to own and to buy. See, I can remember they said that 10 years ago. We were saying the same thing 20 years ago. We'll be saying the same thing 20 years from now.
Right.
That being said, it's the potential for ownership is always right here. And we have to seize part of that ownership, because it's like the earth, there's only so much of it.
Right.
There's only so much real estate on the planet, and we need to buy it back. If you're a spiritual person and you say the earth belongs to the Lord Yahweh, or the earth is God's and the fullness thereof, then it's your legal right as an owner to buy it back. You don't just get it, you got to buy it back.
Right.
Because it all belongs to him. We
Right.
kind of just leasing it, if you want to look at it that way. But so that means we have to engage in that to become a part of that ownership.
All right. Ezekiel, same question for you.
For us as a people, ownership is a vague term because we don't grow up with examples of that. The mass majority of Black people grow up in certain neighborhoods that people from other ethnicities or nationalities own everything in their communities. The local stores, laundromats, all of that are owned by mainly foreigners. You don't see the Black-owned businesses in the Black communities. So it's a very minute amount of Black-owned anything throughout America, which, you know, we are at a crisis situation concerning ownership. We have been the perpetual consumer since being in America, even though we know as a people, we generate trillions of dollars through our hands every year, but we're not using those resources and pooling them together to buy land, to buy real estate, to buy anything that we can say this is ours, and then pass it on to the next generation and the generation after that. Even when we are in the streets accumulating funds, we don't use that money to buy something that's lasting. We go with the quick materialism. We purchase the clothes, the jewelry, and the cars, everything that begins to depreciate over time. You can't pass that Cadillac sitting on 30s with that music in it down 2 or 3 generations. That car ain't gonna last that long. But you can put $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in that car, where you could have purchased a building, where you could have purchased some land, some acres somewhere, and then you could have built something that can last throughout eternity. So our concept of ownership is very foreign to the Black community, because again, we don't grow up with seeing people that we can emulate in that business. The closest thing that we may see as ownership in our communities is barbershops or beauty salons. And most of the people that own those don't own the building. They're renting the building that they're running their business out of. So we have to collectively start pooling our resources, even if it's just the same family members. Come up with a family budget to where everybody put $10, $15, $20 in it a week, to where you accumulate enough to where, hey man, we got enough people in our family that's, you know, hairdressers, that's barbers. Let's buy this building. And then we can expand from there once we begin to get money from that particular business. So we just got to start somewhere with instilling an ownership mindset instead of grow up and get a good job. Your purpose of your education is to get out and get a job. You're going to go spend 4 years at college, $50,000, $60,000 in college just to get out and get a job, not to create and be a producer of a job, but to get a job. And according to how the market is, you may not even be able to put that degree to work. You may have to go get a job that has nothing to do with what you just spent the last years of your life acquiring. So it starts with instilling in the children that you have that ability to be creators. And if we don't do that, then forever we're going to be waiting in line to buy products from every other people and don't have the ability to produce for ourselves. So ownership is not a word that we can define.
Because we was talking about experience, because I know for most people, I know we can only speak for ourselves when it comes to what ownership mean to you, or how do you view, or have you experienced, or how did you experience ownership? And it kind of goes back to your definition. And one of the things you mentioned in there was legal right in possession, which the root word to ownership is own, or owner. And the owner is someone who has something in their possession. It can be either tangible or intangible. And I remember first coming into ownership was when I started making my own money, because now I have the control of that money to do whatever I like for that money to do for me. That's the first experience that I had with ownership. And then it went on to the point where you get your first car. And now you can do some of the things that you wish you could have done when you didn't have a car. He said, now I have ownership and possession of this here. So I can go to the store, I can do this and that, as long as I have the resources as far as getting the gas and et cetera. So just having that experience of ownership, and now, being an adult and owning your own business, that's another level of ownership. And we have to understand, when it comes to ownership, having that intangible part can make a big difference, because like both your brothers alluded to, everything starts here, and it's how you manifest it. We can think on a positive level. We can say, man, I want to do this, that. And it doesn't work out that way, because you don't put certain things in order to make that a reality of your situation. So you can get to a point where you can be financially wealthy and healthy, or you can get to a point where you can lack wealth and health. So we have to understand that from a decision standpoint, that ownership can be tangible if we manifest it properly, but it does start in an intangible way. But at this time, we're going to bring our guest on, because I'm going to ask our guest the same question. I'm pretty sure we're going to get a different answer when it comes to this here, because we're still in, you got a guest coming on? Yeah, we're still, I'm going to turn it over to the minister to go ahead and introduce our guest. But we're still in I like to extend her story month, because we talk about his story and history, but we're going to talk about her story and her story. We're going to create a word, her story. So, Minister, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our dear sister.
Okay. All right. Great. Yeah, it's a privilege. So today we actually are going to have the CEO of TMH Financial, which provides business and bookkeeping solutions. They're also the owner of the Neo Jazz School of Music, which has offices in New Orleans, Louisiana, as well as Miami, Florida. They are the executive director of Builders of the Highway Foundation, which is a nonprofit that provides educational and economic opportunities to underserved communities. Plus, she has an extensive background in cooperative economics, and she has traveled the country lecturing and helping to establish both local and regional member-owned businesses. And honestly, she has multiple other businesses, probably too many for the list. That was just to give you an idea of a few. So it is definitely my honor and privilege to welcome our sister, Ms. Tamar Israel.
Shalom. What a beautiful introduction. I didn't even know I did all this stuff.
Now you know.
Now I know. Wow. And I really am intrigued by this question around like when you think about ownership, like what does it really mean to me? And for me, like one basic concept came up immediately was the fact that I'm alive and I possess and occupy a space somewhere on this planet, and that space around me should be set up, structured with the proper environment for me to exist. And so, I think about ownership in the lens of we were all created on this big old rock floating around the sun, and we all have a right to exist on it. And so somewhere along the lines, ownership has been convoluted into this idea that we want to take it and like scoop up all of the world's resources into this construct that we call wealth. And what has happened in that some people, whether we know they don't mean the rest of the world good, but a very small percentage of the world's population owns most of the world's resources. They have come in and taken claim and stake over the land, the labor, and the capital. And so this really speaks to what we're experiencing, as Brother Yikazikias mentioned, around the mindset. And then Brother Samuel, and also you, Brother Jeremiah, talking about like just having the physical ability to meet our needs and owning the space that we occupy has become almost an impossible concept. So I'm just, thinking about this idea of ownership, and I just want to run a couple of little facts. In our world's population, 1% of the world's population owns about 43 to 50% of the world's resources. Then you pan out a little bit. You got 10% of the world's population that owns 75 to 85% of the world population. So of the globe, of all the occupants of this planet that we're on, 10% of the people are staking claim over majority of the resources, and the majority of the people are scrapping, trying to figure out how to meet their basic needs. So something around the identity of ownership has been flipped on us. And so I'm really appreciating this question and the conversation around what does it look like to own. And I think for me, it's really about our God-given privilege, our Yahweh-given privilege to be able to meet our basic needs in the communities that we are occupying.
Awesome. I start off with the question because I got one that I really want to dig into, because the minister opened up and he mentioned a lot of accolades, and I know all of those to be true, just in case somebody wondering about if you have all these hats or not. You're doing all these things. I know you're doing all these things, which leads me to just going back. Did you grow up around entrepreneurs or did you grow up around employees?
I grew up around employees. As a matter of fact, like my grandfather was a coal miner in Brighton, Alabama, which they lived on company-owned land. Like the company owned the houses that my family, came up in, and this is true for most so-called Black people in America, that we live in properties that were owned, and we were quite literally owned by individuals on this planet, in this nation. So my family came up in a very poor neighborhood, but we found a way to find some community ownership as a way for us to like meet our basic needs in the area that we were in.
Let you brothers jump in now. I got some more questions now.
Yeah, well, Sister Tamar, I know I have a lot going on when we talk about ownership. I really want to, if you can just speak, and it was so powerful when you break that down. Because I know I love talking about money, and I don't want people to get me wrong, because I'm a spiritual person, And most people in that comment that you made about how it got twisted, the scriptures say that the love of money is the root of all evil. And most people misconstrue that as thinking the money is the root of all evil. And it's not. But the reason those percentages that you're talking about and the conditions exist is because those who empower, they love money. And because their lust and their love of money and ownership has perverted them, it is created imbalance. But if you love God first, then you can bring the money and win it. But because they've twisted it, and then now here we're in a society where you're a black woman, a woman of color, and then to be able to navigate, if you can share a little bit about your challenge, what you had to overcome, kind of to get you to where you are today.
Oh, this is a deep one, because I experience being in the workforce, right? And many of us, most of us, day to day, we go to work. We trying to like make ends meet. We trying to make our families like have food, have a safe place, and we go and we're giving all of our energy. We're giving all of our time. We're giving all of our life, like our life force and our substance to this organization. And at the end of the day, when you have a need and you can't meet your needs, this organization, these people don't care about you. All they care about is their bottom line. So for me, it really resonates with, I worked in like really deep corporate trenches when I first started. Like I worked for Walmart, and then I got a chance to work for a private corporation. So I really saw like this divide. And these were really wealthy people that I worked for, and to see like that level of like, not, they don't care about us, like they literally don't see us um as people. They see us as consumers. And I appreciate that question. They see us as cattle to consume all of the things that they're spewing out to us. So for me, I experienced like working with really wealthy people and very at a very young age, and I saw like this great divide of wealth. And so I had to like own my own body and my own labor in these places, because they do everything that they can to take you away from who you are as a person. And so you really have to be on your P's and Q's. And if you're not rooted in a spiritual context, it is easy for you to get taken away and get caught up in all of these traps that they set for you. So I had to have autonomy over like me and the direction I wanted to go in my life first, and say, I'm not staying in this space. Y'all are evil, and I'm going to find a way, a path forward that feels aligned with the creator, because y'all doing too much. And so I did, I went out, found further education, but I mostly was seeking like spiritual guidance to get me into the right place. And I definitely found that.
What's up? So now that you are running your businesses, what precepts have you instituted for your employees so they don't see you in the same light that you saw the entities that you grew up working for?
I really appreciate that, because I partner with people. I have deep community relationships with the people that I work with. And so when you say employees, I create empowerment spaces for the people to own their work. Much like I have to own what it is that I do, I want the folks who I'm working with to own what it is that they do, because when you find that they have a sense of ownership of it, they're in better creativity. They're more inspired. People are having autonomy to really feel creative and feel like what they say and what they have to offer is valuable. And much like many of us, if we worked in these workplaces, you know that the people in the boardroom ain't hearing nothing that we got to say. They only speaking about their bottom line. So I think sharing in what it looks like sharing in the long-term vision is a really first good critical step, because we exist for a reason that's for the benefit of people, and I'm hoping to attract people that feel the same way as I do. And so I think it's really about being in deep rooted relationship with those folks, and also being sharing in that vision and giving them the power to own what they do.
Right. This question here kind of goes to, yes, your journey. How long do you believe or think that it took for people to see you for who you are, to really accept you? Because as a woman, I think the minister kind of alluded to it. We know the struggles of women in this country, especially Black women. So to get to where you are, how long you believe it took you, like coming into rooms where you're networking, either with with your white counterparts, males or whatever, whomever. How long did it take you to get to that point where you feel like, okay, they see me now?
I still feel like that is a part of my journey. Like, I still feel like every day when I walk on into, when I say every day, any instance that I'm in a boardroom facilitating with a group, or if I'm at a conference and I'm presenting, there's always this energy of I'm different from them and the folks who are in those spaces. And there's always this energy of I need to try to show up a little bit different or a little bit better for me to be seen in the true light of who I am, and not just, this physical presence that you see. Because you know how it is. You go into these spaces and people immediately, they're going to judge you by what you look like. If you're a woman, they definitely going to judge you by all of like your physical attributes. But then above that, being able to be heard, I think is like the primary challenge. And I think I had to come into owning my voice and being confident in what I say. And I think the work around like the knowledge base that I've gained has really built that level of power and sense of like I own what it is that I say, because I'm confident in the things that I actually know. So I still feel like I battle. When I say battle, I still feel like not every room, not every space is shaped up for me to be heard and or seen, but it's the Yahweh in me that allows me to show up in these spaces, the God-given privilege in me that allows me to show up in these spaces and command the presence of the Most High, because I am his daughter. So that part was the power source, is the power source that I draw from consistently.
Damn. Let me ask, do you brothers have anything more personal?
Yeah, because when she said that, and
Okay.
it kind of took me back a little, because I know her background and I know the education as well as the reality that she brings. But something that she said, it kind of made me realize that even today, and I know you're very humble, but it sounds like you're also uplifted, where you can, and I guess it kind of it just dawned on me when you said that you could be in a room with 20 people and you probably have more information than all 20 of the people in that room. But you still have situations to where I guess half of those receive it, and the other half, even though they are not there,
probably questioning it, huh?
Still not question it, understand that who they getting it from,
Right.
but then still look at, I guess, so the reality is you still have to deal with that even now, and you can be at the top of the food chain.
I did hear her say that a little bit as
Yeah.
well.
Well, because people have been psychologically trained to see power in a certain way. This talks about this idea of consumption that we're facing, and it's a mindset shift. It's not that the people don't trust me, or they don't know that I have a certain level of knowledge, but our collective reality is that we've all been educated a certain way, and the way we've been educated, we perceive power in a certain way. And if you own certain things, here, and this is where we get to the core of like the conversation. If you got nice cars, if you got these corporate buildings, and you have high rise buildings, then you know something, because you're worthy. You have worth in the eyes of the people who see you. But if you don't have those things, it is not, your knowledge, your experience is not seen as valuable as a certain CEO group who owns, a large portion of the world's wealth. So we, even in ourselves, in our own communities, if we don't have the nicest cars or the nicest houses, or we don't have certain things, we don't have these status symbols, then people don't see you as a legitimate voice of ownership.
Correct. That makes sense, because as an owner, you're supposed to have a certain level of materialism that reflects your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And when I can see your bank account, then I'm more apt to listen to you, because it's showing me that the methodology that you didn't apply, it works. So,
but we forget sometimes they got 400 and some 500 years on us.
No, it's funny that he say that, because when somebody said something about ownership being within you and being able to possess it and recognizing it, you can sit in a room with somebody like Bernie Madoff, and you take that for credit, but guess what? All of his ownership was not worth paper that it was written on, because it was all for ill-gotten gains.
Right.
But psychologically, you've been programmed to believe that that was ownership and that was wealth.
Yeah.
And then it turned around to be the exact opposite.
His word is bond. When he says something, we jump because of that. All right, so we're gonna shift gears a little bit. We're talking personal, but we know this is, ISIS bring a lot of experience, information, and knowledge, when it comes to especially co-ops. And we want to hear about a lot of that. So the question I want to ask right now is, why is ownership so important to our community, or for our community?
Well, I drew that analysis around who owns what resources to kind of open us up. And our reality as a people, as a community is, let's face it, we're not meeting our basic needs. And that is intentional, and that is on purpose. That is by design, that is by structure, that is by policy, that is by the framework in the institution of racialized capitalism. The entire institution of racialized capitalism has made it where people's physical well-being is tied to consumerism. It's tied to consumption versus you actually getting up every day and your work allows you to meet your day-to-day needs. That's not the case for most so-called Black people in America, and most right now US citizens. It's not just a skin color, it is most US citizens are suffering from the fact that we can't see enough value from our physical work to make sure that we're fed, our families are healthy, and we have housing. So we're in an economic crisis, whether we know it or not, whether we accept it or not. We are in a constant economic crisis. And that is because these globalists, this 10% of the world's population, continues to put us in this cycle, on this hamster wheel of consumption. Whereas cooperative and collective communities allowed us to actually share in the surplus that we were able to create in our communities. Now surplus is being farmed out. Any surplus from anything that we get, and let me just be clear, surplus is the result of production, right? So if we're producing and we go to work every day to produce, any anything that we're producing, it creates a product, a resource, a skill, or whatever the case may be. And from there, we are meeting some kind of need from that work. On the other side of that, if there's extra left over, whether it's money, whether it's resources, that surplus is what is now being farmed out to the super wealthy. And so most of us are pinched into this crunch of resources so that we can only have a little bit. We scraping over a few crumbs. And so cooperative economics and owning our communities are really, really important, because it is the thing that gave us what we needed to survive post Civil War, when we were post enslavement. It's the same mechanism, it's the same infrastructure, and it's the same infrastructure we need today, so that we don't see this lack of ability to feed ourselves in our communities. And I can go on, but I'm gonna stop there.
Yes, yeah.
Well, and actually, I really want, because we can come at you from all different angles, but that's one I really want to talk about, because I know that's why you're so passionate about co-ops. It is one of the practical, like a real life solution. So if you could, I guess, in basics, like you just talked about it, but it's like, if you can kind of give us you do it and talk about it all the time. So for our audience, can you kind of share that, the basics of what that looks like for us in our community?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what we are subject to is, we know business ownership as individuals. Most of us come into business ownership and we either got a side hustle, we got a sole proprietorship, and we come in and we're struggling to own that business by ourselves. What if you and five other people like you got into a collaborative model together, whether y'all all have the same skills or you all are bringing different aspects of skills to a industry? Co-owning that business together will help you, one, have the startup capital that you need to get your business started. So investing in creating those businesses, we generally don't have enough capital. And we all collectively make decisions around the benefit of that business and how that business serves the community. So that is like a very foundational way to think of a co-op business. It is a collectively owned enterprise that is designed to meet the needs of its owners and the community that it serves. And it is governed, it is ran, all of the decisions are collectively made by the people, its members, who are a part of that business. So they have a set of values, they have a set of principles that says that we're not going to be like these people, this 10% that we talked about. We actually care about the community that we serve. And so part of our work is any surplus, we either put it back into the community, we put it back into building community wealth for ourselves and our families. But at the other side of it, we're not doing it in the way that we see the 10% doing it. So that's like a very simple way of like naming a business. It's similar to a partnership, whereas partnerships have like different ownership levels. Like you can come in a partnership and there may be a majority partner. In a cooperative business, all members come in at the same level. So giving everybody that same level of power, it diminishes this power struggle that we see that the 10% are doing.
Right. Anything
What is
else?
the hardest, from what you've seen, what is the hardest obstacles in getting people to come together to create a co-op?
Ooh, that's a good one. Because we struggle from this. It is the relationship part. Most people coming into cooperative businesses have to establish trust with each other. And right now, y'all know what it's like. Y'all know what it's like trying to build businesses and do things in your community. uh, there's this dynamic challenge of distrust inside of the Black community. And what we have to figure out how to do is onboard systems so that we can actually have the trust that we need, so that we can know that each person involved in this particular venture all have the same thing in mind. We all want to succeed together. And so we get into like building those cooperatives. People are constantly in conflict with each other. People are not showing up with the same level of work ethic. Some people have different work ethics, and so being in a cooperative model, you do have those challenges. And then designing it on the front end, if you don't take the time out to create it the right way on the front end, then conflict will kill the model. It will take it out. Everybody is going their separate ways because they can't come to a shared decision to save their life. So if you don't address those things on the front end, then it's going to be real challenging. And most people get impatient. They don't want to do that work. They're like, I just want to make the money.
Right. How much you think this society or this system, this capitalist system plays a part in that?
The forces of individualism, I think, run rampant into this model because in the current way of being, everybody has a hustle that they pursuing, everybody trying to get as much surplus or wealth that they can get instead of I'm gaining wealth to help out my community. I'm gaining this to help out all the people around me so that they can meet their needs. We all right now, we have this identity of I'm trying to stack as much cash as I can stack right now. I'm stacking, I'm stacking, I'm stacking. And you may be stacking for the multitude of generations, but your generations are coming into a world of other people who ain't stacking. And so when they see the children, your children with, and they don't have, now you got a replica of the have and the have nots. So I can, I might be going off balance of this, but the reality of it is if we don't create models where people are creating systems of reciprocity, we're continuing to replicate the greed factor that the 10% is aiming for. And then you have a world where no one is charitable and no one is living in the spirit of the Most High and seeing that their fellow man are meeting their needs. So something has to shift. And the way we do business is a good first start, if you ask me.
Well, yeah, I would totally agree. She make a very powerful point about the 10%. It's what she kind of laid her foundation in the beginning about ownership, and I can't say the exact words, but the ownership has to come from within. Because it sounds like if we using that business model, what good would it do for us to create the exact same system that we were trying to get out of? It's like if it flipped the script, it would be the exact same thing. Changing that is like we shouldn't want a system where 1% or 10% owns it all. But if we follow the philosophy that we've been taught, that's what they push, rather than everybody sharing in the wealth.
Yeah, me, myself, and I, if you separate the people, you can continue to rule because those mindsets are not coming together. That's where cooperative kicks in at. If you start to bring the people together and they start to think more on a level of prosperity and like what she was saying, like, meeting the needs of everybody that's within the community, you don't have to worry about the capitalism that's outside of the community. It's when it's now becomes vested in the community where now I'm thinking me, myself, and I need to be getting as much money as I can so I can live like this person, that person, this person that's driving the Mercedes, that's driving the BMW. I want that lifestyle, but we ain't looking at the needs of the community. So no, that's that's great. You can think you have. I mean,
Most definitely. Our biggest issue has always been pooling our resources to be able to create the wealth that we want, that will lead to the ownership of whatever it is in our communities. And as you said, it's the distrust factor that has been so entrenched in our minds since we've been over here in America. That's the biggest obstacle to overcome. So I like that with the business model that they're applying, everybody comes in on the exact same level. That kills a lot of animosity or jealousy right there. So we have to create a system that would allow that cooperative mentality to be passed on within the communities and down to successive generations. Because the 1%, the 10%, they've created a superstructure that they pass their mindset down to the masses of people that keep you on a consumer mentality. So they influence the educational system, the financial institutions, they create the policies for these people to keep the 89% of people at a certain economic level. Mm-hmm. So it's our duty, if we want to be like the super rich or live the lifestyle of the rich, then we have to come up with a system that will turn on its axis, that would allow us to be able to pool our resources, because nobody gets rich in this world by themselves. You need help. You didn't manufacture the car you driving, the phone that you using. So all the things that you use, the tools that's needed to get you at whatever level of life you had to have help from somebody else. So if that's the case, the clothes that you wear, you're not making them. You don't make the Nikes that you wear. You didn't make the red lights or the streets that you're riding on that get you to and from your businesses. So you have to have that mindset that I need somebody else to help me acquire the wealth that I want. And like I say, we can use the sports world. You take a boxer like Floyd Mayweather. He had trainers, he had dietitians, he had physical therapists. He had these people, sparring partners, to help him reach the level that he had. He would never have become successful by himself. So if we take that mindset to understand that we have to pool our resources with somebody at some level to get somewhere, even if it's just me having the words to go to the bank to be able to get a loan to purchase a building, I still need the bank's money because I don't have that startup capital in my mattress. So we got to understand we have to work together. And as the king said, when the people become one, there's nothing that they can imagine that they can't make tangible and in the real world in their life. So when you have that vision, you need to surround yourself with the people that can make that vision become reality in your life. And that's the mindset we have to overcome, that individual. We have to start working as a community, as a town, as a state, as a nation. That's the mindset that must be instilled now if we're ever going to come from the bottom of civilization as a people in America. We got to begin to do that.
Right.
Oh, that's really.
I got a tough question, and you started on it, and you may or may not be able to fully answer this one. But you mentioned about how difficult it is, that trust barrier. Mm-hmm. What have you seen, or what tools or keys have you used to try to overcome that barrier of trust?
I love this question because it's really one, I think the whole idea of cooperative economics puts in a set of shared values and practices that people who are participating have to embody. And then, of course, we know in our spiritual practice, we've been given like a framework, we've been given like a way of being that allows us to have like this policy, this set of rules that we embody. We had a set of beliefs that what we do and we're how we think, we're all leading and guiding, being guided to the same direction. And then we have a way of being, like our personal patterns and our ways of operations that allows us to be in a certain movement with each other. And so this behavior, this way of thinking is the same thing that's needed in cooperative practice. Groups need to come in with a set of like shared agreements. These are the ways we know we want to show up for each other. This is, we know this is the thing that we know we're going to be a certain way. These agreements are the things that holds us to this intention. We and then we have that shared mission. This is why we exist together. We are on a path to accomplish a certain thing, and that mission is the thing that we always circle back to ground us in why we are doing this work. And then whatever patterns, like, people have to recognize and understand their own behavior when they coming into a collective process, because you know you showing up with whatever you got, but you got to learn how to do something different so that you can actually be in accordance with the whole group. So that's why I say people tend to not want to do the work, because being in collective spaces requires you to do individual work with yourself. We want to show up just as we are, thinking we okay, and we not. We are not okay. We have to face the reality that we've been trained to innately not work together, and working together requires individual and collective work.
Beautiful.
Indeed. And since we know you speak all over the country, and I like that question that the minister just posed, when you're going to speak, especially about cooperatives, and because my assumption is you're speaking to a large group of different cooperative organizations, and I'm pretty sure they're bringing out some of the members to hear you speak. Are we speaking about at the time what type of challenges? I know one of them is trust. Are there any other challenges that you're dealing with when you're speaking to these organizations and trying to get them to understand the importance of cooperative economics?
Yeah, I think the primary challenge for, like, especially in our community, and I can name our community right now to start, in the Black community, is that we lack knowledge of these models as viable ways to meet our needs. And I think getting the information out that there is not just a LLC that you can form to meet your needs. There's not just a C Corp that you can form to meet your needs. The traditional way of doing business is not the sole way of doing business. And let me just be clear, you do have to form like these quote unquote state designated models to operate in, but people don't know that you can create a business with the state codes you working with, and you can design it to be a fair and equitable business. People don't know that you can design fairness into your policies as a business model. It's like shocking. It's like the most, like, it's revelation. We can be fair to each other when we design a business. Yes, you can do that.
Right.
You have the right to do that. So people don't know that a cooperative model is a way that you can actually do and solve problems. And then a lot of the times is when people, especially like low income, not just Black people, but anybody who's in the low income space of designing businesses, they design without proper capital to pay themselves. And then we're caught up in this pattern of we're working, and we're still not meeting our needs. And so I know there was a conversation that came here a while before, maybe a couple of weeks before, about like the financial strategies. That part is a very important conversation to have at the beginning of it. And most people don't want to have that conversation in the front end. They want to see the benefits. What profits am I going to gain? But they ain't thinking about what investments do I need to make? What kind of, you know, monetary investments? What type of capital I need to be like trying to save to create this business? right? We don't want to make the personal sacrifices of like making lifestyle shifts so that we can save to create a business, but sometimes that's what's required. And so most places, people are coming in, we're just desperate to find work, and the challenges are already deeply rooted. Even in other communities, like any, not just Black communities, all low income communities, folks are stuck with, we're trying to eat every day, so it's difficult, really difficult for people to come in and sit at a table and design a business that is, a better business model. So there's not enough investment into like cooperative businesses that make it possible for people to actually own a co-op business. We're usually coming in where we're already strapped for cash. We already strapped for like working hours. We're not getting meaningful work. And we trying to come in and design a business that takes time to design fairness into. It feels like an impossible feat, but it can be done. It's just that it takes people like myself who are going out and educating, but also like educating policymakers, having those hard conversations with banks and governments that we need to invest more into this business model so that people who are on the low end of the totem pole can get a fair access to the market. So this is the challenge around the country, that the haves are sitting in a space and they're making decisions, and the have-nots are sitting in a space and they're reaping the repercussions from these decisions that the haves are making.
Definitely.
I just want to point out too, when you say that makes a very good point, because we definitely can always speak to our community because we really want to uplift our community. Charity begins at home, but you make a good point, and we have to be conscious that it's not just our community and people that look like us who are suffering and struggling. It's people who don't look like us that's having the same challenges, and because of that, it can also turn around and make it them be difficult against us when we could actually become an ally. It's like we don't want to make an enemy when that really could be an ally.
Mhm. I think there's a sense of alliance building that being in cooperative practices help us actually perceive. Um, let's take a little walk down memory lane, if you will. And I mentioned post Civil War. In the early 1900s to 1930s, this was the golden era of Black business ownership. We saw towns coming up around the country of economic strongholds in the Black community. One of the things that did help shape that was the Underground Railroad and the intentional communities that were designed post Civil War. In that, there were people who were quote unquote abolitionists, both Black, Native, white, whomever. Folks like that and New Orleans has a really rich history of these trading regions, where people were able to actually go in and set up trade and exchange alliances. That is another example of cooperative economics at practice that we often forget, like buying local, creating local ecosystems, looking at ways to continue to circulate dollars back into community, whether it's through just the Black community or people who are adjacent to the community that are also currently making sure that they're reinvesting locally. So alliance building is something that we all really need to be looking after. And now that we know that it's just 10%, it's literally just 10% of the world's population that is like gobbling up all the resources. The 90% of us can figure out how to get together and build these alliances so that we can meet our needs. I mean, and some of us, let me just say this quite frankly and quite clearly, Black folks have a mission to be the forerunners of this work. We did it before and we can do it again today.
We did it in the 1900s. We can do it again today. We have the innate ability to be these people who are in consistent fellowship with each other to meet each other's needs. It's not just about one business, it's about supporting like a collaboration of businesses that are doing good for communities. So get your taxes done at Scott. Call your electrician at CNS and make sure that you can get your work done, because it's really about knowing who's doing stuff and creating cooperative ecosystems.
Indeed. And I think technology helps out a lot as well when it comes to that. But we're going to go to a commercial break because my engineer is saying we're supposed to take a break around this time. But we're going to come back and we're going to keep this topic going. We'll be right back.
At NOY Store, we bring culture, style, and wellness all in one place. Explore our collection of cultural apparel designed to inspire and connect. From t-shirts to polos, boldly tell your story. Need guidance on your journey? Check out our books written to inspire and support your spiritual, personal, and community growth. And give your body the care it deserves with our health and wellness products like natural toothpaste, soothing body butters, and more. We're always adding new products to empower your life so you can live with purpose and style. Visit NOYstore.com today, where culture, wellness, and inspiration come together. Shop at NOYstore.com.
Because Scott & Associates always treats me like family, I refer my family to them. So when preparing for my taxes and I know exactly what to bring in coming in, it makes the process so much easier. Anyone should hire Scott & Associates because they are professional, respectful, and very knowledgeable. And with all of my heart, I can always count on them.
All right, welcome back. And it seemed like we have some comments. Do we have anyone that's left a comment?
Yes, it did. Actually, on that topic, it was at $7 bucks. It says the very rich get richer, while the poor get poorer, and that is their gain.
Mm-hmm. And again, if you're just joining us, we are here with Ma Israel Cooperative. He's big when it comes to cooperative economics. We're talking a little bit about that. She's a business owner. She's a wife. She's a grandmother. And we're just talking to her about her experience when it comes to cooperative economics and just business in general. So since I want to ask, like, when it comes to like cooperatives, are there any state or federal laws that one has to comply to when it comes to that?
Absolutely. In most cases, states are set up to give laws for business structures. And there are a few states across the country that have cooperative statutes. That means that just like you can set up and organize a LLC or a C Corp or S Corp or whatever type of like entity type that you want to structure, there is a statute that makes designing and creating co-ops beneficial. And this kind of came out of like some of the farm statutes that came in the late 1900s rather, in early 2000s, where they were looking to like make it beneficial for agricultural cooperatives to really create and serve whatever cause they wanted. They created an IRS code that allows for those cooperatives to like have discounted and benefited taxation. So what this looks like is that if you have a state that you have a co-op statute, you can form your co-op, You get discounts on a certain or deferred taxation on some of your capital that you earn. And I don't want to get into the weeds of it all, but there are some benefits of owning cooperative businesses versus traditional business models in the IRS code in some state statutes. Now, you have to be compliant to most other like ordinances that you have with any other business. But I think there's a benefit to like us being able to invest back in our businesses that cooperatives do afford in the state in the federal statute.
That's great. That I mean, you get incentive to go ahead and create this co-op. So
Mm.
even the government seeing the benefit of that. So as a people, we definitely again need to pool our resource. As you spoke about earlier, 1900s when they had the communities coming together and creating their own businesses. You know, the most famous, of course, is the Black Wall Street that everybody knows about. So these corps can put us back with that type of mentality and put us in that position in this day and age to where we
Right.
can start creating those businesses that can start, you know, buying, selling, and trading our skill sets with one another. So even the government is giving you an incentive to do that as opposed to going into individual business where you still will be a small business, which the taxes in America make sure you'll never get rich in that also. So you come out better creating the corpse.
Right. And to be clear, they didn't design this with us in mind, right? So
Yeah.
they was designing this for like of course your white farmers, right? During that era, during that time, white farmers were having a challenge and they were wanting to continue their access to market. And their, if you will, their good old boy system to keep them in the game. And so now we got to know about these things. And this is one of the indicators that we have to stay in the know about what's happening, because just as businesses have now existed to like pull funds, we can now flip the script on that and create businesses that replenish replenish our communities, and cooperative communities are a way that we can design that in our local community. And an example, I will say that I'm a member of my grocery co-op here. There are food co-ops around the country that I don't actually have to do work to be a member of this co-op, but I get to benefit from it. I
Mm.
get healthy foods. I, can get discounts on certain produce, etc., by being a member of the food co-op. And I know where my food is coming from. I literally have a direct tie to the farmers by being a member of my food co-op. So cooperatives are a answer to some of the supply chain challenges that we see that's taking place right now.
All right. And I know you talked about all the incentives, but we know when the government give us some, they want to restrict certain things that we can do.
They gonna take it back.
So, what are some other ways? I know we talked about pooling your resources, but what are some ways being in that industry that you know of that one can start like a co-op without any outside influence from the government, but still be able to operate within the capacity of the co-op and everybody to be able to gel together without, like I said, that outside um, influence or restriction from them.
It's funny that you asked this because we, as in our community, we just naturally do these things and we don't even know that we're like practicing cooperative economics. If any of the listeners are out there, remember a little savings club that you and your family members have actually worked together to actually pull your resources together to go on a trip. That is a perfect example of how cooperative economics gets its start. So if you start with that, we can do that to go on a trip. What would it look like for you to do that very same savings club to start a business? If you and your cousins do hair and y'all want to pool your resources together to open up a shop, y'all do that same savings club. Somebody is the steward, somebody's keeping the records. Everybody pool a little bit for the next 6 months to put the money together. And then in 6 months, you got enough to maybe buy the supplies that you need, to get somebody on the front porch doing hair, whatever you need to do. But it's these simple things that we've been in practice of as a community that we have to remember is the same thing you could do to create a business that's meeting community needs. Another example is a buying club. Very simple practice. We can pool our resources to get together and buy bulk. Like, remember when that COVID happened, everybody bought out all the tissue. For some reason, we don't know why the tissue, but if y'all in community, if you have a block of people who live in a neighborhood, y'all can start a buying club. You can get a mass supplies of certain things, and this can ease the burden of just shopping for some of your basic needs. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged 2,000 square foot or whatever grocery store. It may be more than that, but it doesn't have to be a full-fledged model like that. It could be something very simple to start with. um, Susus, saving clubs, people coming together and creating and making buying clubs where you're buying certain goods. And finally, if you are a few people that share in skills and abilities, you can come together and provide a service cooperative. You can be a service provider cooperative. So bookkeeping, I could be with three other bookkeepers, and we can actually get together and go source some clients and do the bookkeeping work for a large group of people. So it's start small. We don't have to go big. Or if you can't do that, join a food co-op. Go to a food co-op and join it and get access to healthier foods.
Right.
Well, I like that one. That's a very practical thing, especially for those who are health conscious, that you may not own some land, join a food co-op. And then you don't have to be as concerned about where the food that you're buying is coming from. And in most cases, it's going to be more healthy for you and in a better price.
Right.
So how does one go about joining or finding places in their communities to where they can become a member of a food co-op?
There's an organization called the Food Co-op Initiative that actually has a database of food co-ops, and another one called National Cooperative Grocers (NCG) that also has that database of food co-ops. You can search online and find out if there's a food co-op in your area. If there is not a food co-op in your area, then I would go with the first thing I said is you and a few of your friends, y'all set a table and y'all get together and we talk about what do I buy? What do we buy that we all buy in bulk? Everybody probably buy beans. Everybody probably buy rice. Everybody probably buy flour, and some of those staple products that you buy, y'all can get together and buy it in bulk and divide it up, and it's going to cost you less. We talk about very practical ways of saving money because this is where cooperative economics actually begins to get practical.
Right.
I like that. Take this, make it a reality. That what you buy every day, make it practical and create a co-op. And then automatically you stretch your dollars and save money.
Right.
And I want to interject one more thing too, because we often forget that we can get together and buy a plot of land and start growing something.
Mm.
And that right there is a self-starter strategy. You set a table, and this is really the beginning of a co-op. It's just like how businesses are made. You find a need and fill it. you talk to a few of your people that you know that have a similar challenge, and y'all sit at a table together and start talking about what ways can we find a way to meet a shared need. What are the needs that we need to be dealing with? Is it food? Is it lawn care? Is it whatever? Is it child care? Is it senior care? Well, let's figure it out. Let's sit at a table and find ways that we can all support each other in feeling this need. We do it all the time in our community. It's nothing different than what we've been doing before. Let's structure it with a little bit more of uh, intention, if you will. And
Yes.
that's what cooperatives do.
All right. Well, we taking a lot of notes. I hope our audience and people that are listening taking some notes. It's definitely something that we have to look at from a nation standpoint. And I think we're on, for the most part, on the track of trying to form or, put this into action. But we are very thankful for your knowledge and wisdom when it comes to this here, because not having that, we'll be lost. So to be able to come in and share that information is very important, because oftentimes we think we're doing something or doing it right, we're doing it totally wrong. So we have to have someone within our, within our mix that understand how these things work, especially from a legal standpoint, so that we're doing everything decently and in order. Anything else, brothers, before we get ready to close out?
Yeah, and it's a quick one, but I really wanted to touch base on it. Just to ask you this one tomorrow, because you are part of the Neo Jazz School of Music, and something that we have a tendency of forgetting is about art and culture and how rich that is. Can you just give us a few minutes, because I think it's really lacking, or we have it. If you can give us a few minutes.
Absolutely. Arts-based organizing and culture is a rich fabric that ties the knot to cooperative economics in our community. If you think about it, food is centered in arts. It's a cultural residue of who we are as a people. And I'll bring it on home to, like, here in New Orleans, we have a dish that I don't, there's a way that it is prepared that I don't eat it, but the context of it makes sense. And gumbo is a perfect context of like a cooperative way of being. When you think about gumbo is people putting a little bit of what they got in their house together to create a shared pot. And so that's one way of doing it. But when you think about music making, everybody coming in with a different melody, a different harmony, or whatever it is that they got a different sound, and we have to come together and make those things blend. So arts-based organizing is very, very like a easy way for us as a people to connect to cooperative practices. So I just want to leave that note. It's not a new thing. It's something we've had in our spirit, in our background, and we just have to remember that this is who we are. We own our culture, we own our cooperative ways of being, and we need to own our work and our freedom in our communities. And I'll leave that as a way to lean into the cultural piece.
Right. All right. So, unless we have anything else, we're gonna ask you to give us some final words, and just warn people how they can get involved and how they can follow you, etc.
Absolutely. Well, you can visit tamayisrael.life. Tamah Yisrael is TAMAH. As you can see my name on screen, YISRAEL.life. And I am going to be doing some Taking It Back series on social media. So follow me and learn more about cooperative economics through my series called Taking It Back. So be on the lookout for that. And I just thank y'all so much for this space to share.
Yes, ma'am. I want to ask you about that. I ain't got more time now. You can think of anything? Oh, go ahead, sis.
Yeah, that's like that arts and culture piece. I just want to say you're gonna hear more of that on Taking It Back.
Okay. Brother Ezekiel?
Yes, I just hope everybody was able to get an understanding of what the co-op is and begin to apply that in your communities so that you can become owners of whatever businesses that you may have in your mind to have. And have a great afternoon.
Minister?
No, I just want to thank Sister Tamar for joining us and sharing her light, her wisdom, her spirit, bringing that wonderful energy to our program. We certainly appreciate you.
Indeed. I want to thank you too as well, sis. I want to thank the listening and viewing audience for tuning in to the show. I hope you gained some type of insight when it comes to cooperatives and just business in general. And I just want to leave you with this here. This week, support one Black-owned business or take one step towards building something of your own or as a cooperative, as our sister shared with us. And I would say from the host, Peace and Prosperity, and from Live Talk, we are out.
Thank you for watching Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit on the notification button so that you can see more videos like this. You want to join the show? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook and Instagram at Arthur Jeremiah. And visit the website, thenoystore.com, to pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name.